So, what is happening to Ethereum and what is happening to Bitcoin? Right now, I'm doing an emergency broadcast for my Discord, and I'll post that onto social media in the next couple of days or day or so. But Ethereum is crashing, and Bitcoin is crashing right now. So, we're gonna go straight into it, and this all pretty much started on Friday, and it came out with that terrible CPI number. It wasn't actually that bad. I'm coming to you from a different island this time, so obviously Pablo is quite relaxed right now because Pablo was telling you guys, watch out for this. This inflation's going to be a killer. A lot of people didn't want to listen. All right, okay, what can I do? Let's go straight into this. So let's revisit that terrible. Inflation number. What do we have? Okay, so it was basically 8.6. So here's the thing. It's actually, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture, it's not actually that bad. I'll tell you why. Because look at this, right? The inflation number, US CPI, used to go up by say 0.5% every time. I remember it started in around November. The November 10th inflation reading, that's when Bitcoin topped $69,000 that exact day, and it basically went up by 0.5%, right, every month or so, and which means it goes up by about 1% every 2 months, and it's gone from 5 to 6 months, 6%, 7%, and then 8.3%. So in the last 2 months, we put that in perspective. In the last 2 months, it's gone from 8.5, 8.3, 8.6. So in 2 months, it went up not 1%, but 0.1%. So the pace of inflation rise has slowed. But however, the market was entirely counting on a peak inflation theory. And that's what I was counting on as well. And, I explained this in my earlier videos that if we get something like peak inflation, then the market's basically just going to bottom and bounce really hard. That would be a major bottom. That's what I was looking for. We had the 10-year yields from the bonds peak turning down. We had the US dollar peak at $1.05 turned down to 101.5. We had stocks, the QQQ stopping at about 280, 285, and then bouncing up. Everything looks like it was bottoming, and then this really bad number came out, and it isn't, in absolute terms, it isn't that bad because it is only 0.1% higher than 2 months ago. So yeah, basically it's only gone, to put that in perspective, 0.1% higher than last time, than 2 months ago, which is almost topping. But this is the thing about the markets. It could have came out as 8.5, 8.4, and the markets wouldn't have reacted that way because it means inflation has peaked at 8.5. But now, even though it's just 0.1% higher than 2 months ago, it says to the Federal Reserve that inflation hasn't peaked yet. We don't have peak inflation. It could go to 9%, could go to 10%, and psychologically, symbolically, it's so bad to say inflation is still rising. Puts pressure on Biden, and that's why the Fed's going to come down pretty harsh, I think, on the 16th, which is in this Wednesday or this Thursday coming up. And so basically this is what I mean. There's nothing, you say, the rational people might say, oh look, calm down, it's only 0.1% higher than 2 months ago, so that means inflation is topping out. But let me show you this. Usually what happens is you say, okay, let's look underneath the number and look at something like core inflation. So core inflation basically is stripping away, core consumer price index is stripping away the volatile energy prices such as oil and gas, and then you take away the volatile seasonal food prices. So then you're stuck with just CPI of everyday things itself, and it's also come out above expectation. They were thinking 0.5%. It came out to be 0.6%. You can see here, it's still staying high up there. It's not. It had a little dip, but moved back. So there's no sign of inflation actually really slowing down. It cannot stay here. What the danger is here's the thing. This is the dangerous thing. It's my Discord. Here's the dangerous thing. So basically, on the 16th, the Federal Reserve has a chance. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think the market is tipping 90% it's going to do a 50 basis point hike. We all know that. But however, the July, and then the September, we have 3 more meetings coming up. Chances are one of those will be a 75 basis point hike. At least when it comes on Wednesday, Jerome Powell's going to say, look, I could do a 75 basis hike. I could do a 100 basis point hike, like 1% hike in one meeting. There is no limit. They could say, they're probably going to say something very hawkish like that. And also, the most important thing is, before we thought, okay, they're probably going to stop, because right now the 2-year yield, bond yield, is something like 2.86%. That's because they're expecting the Fed is probably going to stop at around 2.875-ish area, what the Federal Reserve calls neutral interest rates, and then take a wait and see approach. But however, now the Federal Reserve could come out and say there is no terminal rate, as in we're not going to stop at 2.85. We're going to go above neutral rate. Neutral means, we're not leaning towards easing, and we're not leaning towards tightening, because history will look back and judge them and say, how the fuck could you say you're neutral when inflation's going through the roof? You should be tightening. You should be going above neutral. So therefore, they could say something like, we'll aim for 3%, 3.5%. They could even say there is no terminal rate. There is no limit. We will do what Paul Volcker did. That's the Federal Reserve chairman in the late 1970s, who hiked interest rates to 20%. Remember, this is the Federal Reserve right now, the Federal Reserve rate, effective federal funds rate, is at 0.75%. In 1980 or 1979, they took it to 20%. 20%, like Russia. It's crazy situation. I don't think it's going to get anywhere near there, where else US dollar is going to crash because the US has too much debt. But they could say there is no limit, and that means it could potentially go to 3%, 3.5%, 4% until they bring this inflation thing down. And they may not be able to bring it down, because it's what's causing inflation is a couple of things. One, the war in Europe could get worse. 2, it's because of the export-import situation with China. Now, Biden is so desperate now, he's lifting the tariffs on Chinese imports. He's lifting the tariffs. But guess what? That's going to reduce about 1 to 2 percentage points off inflation straight away. They've done the numbers. They've already crunched the numbers on that. So reduce the Chinese tariffs. But you know what? China is stuck in a pandemic right now. Yes, China's opening up, but tomorrow, next week, next month, China could lock down again on this pandemic thing. So what does that mean? That means China may not be able to export what US needs for supplies every day. So you've got a supply crunch. That's got nothing to do with the US economy itself. They can hike rates as much as they want. China just can't supply them because they have a COVID lockdown. So the situation's it's not looking good. Will the war end soon in Russia? Unless the Russians get everything they want and they have a big, easy victory. Let me tell you this, if the Russians have a big, easy victory and they stop the war, then obviously the West, the NATO countries, US, Europe, are going to hate the Russians. And therefore, they're not going to stop the sanctions. They're going to try to punish Russia with the sanctions. If they're going to try to punish Russia with the sanctions, then oil prices and energy prices are still going to stay high. But more than likely, Putin is like, I've lasted this far long already. I can just, what he's doing right now is not an all-out war. He's doing this slowly. He's going to slowly grind and fight this thing slowly, because he knows in another 3 months' time, in October, late September, it'll start getting cold in Europe, especially Northern Europe, and they're really going to need that natural gas. He controls 42% of Europe's natural gas. He's going to squeeze Europe hard, because Europe so far has bled him by giving Ukraine weapons, money, $40 billion loan, Trident missiles, and intel to take down the flagship the Russian flagship in the Black Sea. The point is, inflation, it looks like there's no simple answer to inflation. Even if we get a peak in inflation, it could still be like, what is it going to go down like by 0.2% per month? That's way too slow. Like, and what's worse right now is that because we've just had this little pop back up to 8.6%, it'll take something like, in my estimation, 2 months for inflation to come back again, for the market confidence to come back again. Why? Because, okay, we're at 8.6 right now. Imagine next month we get a lower number. We get 8.4, 8.3. And guess what the market's going to say? Will people say, oh, peak inflation? No, because they're like, remember last time it went down 1 month and then back up 1 more month. So people are going to wait for a second month to confirm. So it could be like 8.6. What if it does 8.6, 8.5, 8.4? Would you then say it's peak inflation? And that would take us to September. So we have July, August, September. Yeah, in September, we're back down to 8.4. People will still not believe you because by October it could be 8.4, back to 8.6 or 8.7. So we're in a crazy situation right now. And because of that, the Fed will just keep on hiking interest rates and get more hawkish. Remember, November is election time. It's midterm elections, and no president has ever gone to the midterm elections with inflation this out of control, except Carter. And that's why he was a one-term president in the 1970s. This is a crazy situation. Okay, let's jump straight back to where Bitcoin and Ethereum is. Ethereum, as I've been saying in my Discord, I said Ethereum had support. A few days ago, I said Ethereum support was at 1,700, and we bought there, and we caught the bounce to 1,850. But then, just before CPI, I said, if a bad CPI number comes out, 1,700 will not hold. And it'll eventually go to 14. I've got it drawn out here. In my Discord, I said it'll eventually go to 14. What's this line here? 1425 to 1325 range. So, I mean, we're almost there already. Where is it now? It's like 1450 or something. What is it? What's the number at now? 1450. Yeah, we're at 1450 now. I didn't know it would go, I said that's the next resistance on the charts. I just didn't know it would go there straight away, like within 8 hours of me typing that message. But I hope folks in my Discord, paid attention, because I did say 1,700 will not hold. We got one lucky bounce off there. We'll make some money. Now, it'll go to the next support level. I said ultimately it's going to 14 to 13 area, and it's like $20. It's $20 away from there. It's very close now. Bitcoin, I wrote 10-12 hours ago that it's in trouble if it breaks the 28k support area. Now see, here's where Bitcoin is. Let me find a clearer chart. Okay, this is a clearer chart. Now Bitcoin is basically, the way I see it, it's in what I call a bull flag pattern, but I did say that bull flag is breaking down yesterday. So we have this pop here, that's a flagpole, and we have this flag here. But however, it's been testing downside too many times, and because the bad CPI number, I was like, I think it's breaking down. I said this about 12 hours ago, 20 hours ago, and you can see that 28k area is crucial. Why? Because it was kind of the bottom here, that's 27.8, 27.9k. 27.9k, and a bunch of bottoms at 28.5, 28.7. So once we break down here, this is a daily chart. We haven't closed yet. I'm looking at I was looking at the 4-hour chart before, but to close down here, it's pretty bad. Like, it's of course going to fake out and bounce up, but why would it? I think the market would sell off before the June 16th Federal Reserve meeting, because the market is anticipating what the Federal Reserve is going to say, and it's going to be pretty hawkish. I stress there is a chance it could do a wick down and then close back up and then do a short squeeze, whatever. But I think, because I'm calling this real time right now. Right now, Bitcoin has dumped down to 27,300. I think over the next week or two, or even sooner, chances are, even before the 16th, before the Federal Reserve announcement on their rate hike, I think there's a solid chance we revisit the 24, 25K bottom. We might get a second bounce here. Might get a head and shoulders pattern, as in 24.5K, 20, yeah, that was the bottom. Something like, then we bounce off 22, 21, something like 23, going lower, then come up, hit that 31, bounce down to 24, and that could be a head and shoulders pattern and go back up. I'm still looking for that bottoming process, but I don't see the bottoming process until at least 2 months out here from here, and we need 2 months of solidly improving CPI numbers. So for people on social media, if you've been following me, I think it's I've been warning for a long time now that I think Bitcoin is going to 20K. It may not do it this time. It may not do it in the next month or so, but in a few months' time, like say end of this year, sometime next year, basically Bitcoin could head into a real crypto winter. And right now, I've warned this for a long time. I guess it's very difficult to time the exact timing right. But I have never told people to say hodl Bitcoin or hodl these altcoins, or I've always saw them as a trading opportunity. If they crash down to like 20K, I'll start thinking about going in heavily to accumulate, to dollar cost average in, to DC in. But that's just me. That's not financial advice for you guys. So none of this is financial advice. It's just me saying what I'm going to do. That's my personal diary, me recording this. So, but I could be wrong. People might, the bottom for the next 6 months for Bitcoin could be 24.5K. So if it gets near 24, 25, 26, if you're the type of guy who really, really believes in Bitcoin, then it's not a bad idea to dollar cost average in. Because remember last time I was saying it'll go to 20K, I only went down to 28.5, right? And then it bounced up, and everybody was like, "Oh no, I wish I bought some more. I wish I didn't listen to Pablo. I wish I didn't, I just bought some more down at 29K." Well, I did tell people, if you're a long-term investor, you should dollar cost average in. It's not financial advice, but you might regret it, and people did regret it. But I guess this time I will stress it. So yes, I do think, from what I know of economics, it could get a lot cheaper. Sub 20K is a real possibility, but I could be wrong. If you really believe in Bitcoin and you don't want to regret it, thank you. That's my little baby. Thank you. Then 20, 25, 26K, 24K. Not bad to dollar cost average in. Because in a dollar cost average in situation, you only need to go in a little bit by little bit by little bit. And also, something I like to do personally is I do pyramid in. So, for example, I could put, as an hypothetical example, $10,000 at 25K, $1,000 at 25K, $2,000 at 24K, $4,000 at 23K, $8,000 at 22K, and so on and so on and so on. The more it drops, the bigger my buying orders. So that's just one way of doing it. Not financial advice. It's risky out there, guys. I've been warning about this and for a long time if you've been watching my videos. So I think, obviously I said, I posted to social media, I posted to Discord. As soon as that Friday number happened, I said, I think the bounce is over. I think this is pretty bad. That bounce has been ended prematurely. And that number could have came out either way. It was such a gamble. Could have been 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, 8.6. It's just, there's lots of fluctuations and variance in these numbers. Statistically, they'll tell you. But however, we were unlucky. It just happened to land on 8.6. That's kind of like the worst number, because it's actually not, inflation's not getting that much worse, but it's just 0.1% higher than what it was. And that's enough to make the Federal Reserve say, we need to really look like we're going to hammer down on inflation, or else we'll lose our credibility. Okay, thank you guys for your time. And, hopefully you stay safe trading in the markets. This is Pablo coming to you again from one of the most beautiful beaches and islands in the world. Listen to Pablo, and we could all be relaxed right now. Cheers, bye-bye.